A cold man sits on a rebuilt beach with his good friend on a good blanket. It's a good day, breezy and nippy when the clouds are out, pleasantly scalding when they're not. The cold man's friend is face down on the blanket, trying to become a shade of crisp. The cold man might as well put her on a rotisserie and tan her until she's well done. She's one of many who are wanting for color today, posing on their faces and stomachs, backs and butts, left side and right. Where the two oceans meet, pale tourist children tease the rowdier one, fleeing its onslaught, then chasing after it again and again, over and over until their babysitter mothers yell after them. One of the pale children, a runt of a thing, throws sand at the birds and his brothers. The birds, stupid, take the abuse with squawks. The brothers, a bit smarter, tell mommy. Later, the same hellion builds 2 sandcastles with his father, only to chop the towers away with the edge of his mighty plastic scoop. The cold man's good friend turns over and asks if he's ready to leave, her legs dark and inviting. He nods and looks at her for what seems like a century, some cold gear turning in his head. He tries not to stare. "So how do you like the house so far?" the real estate agent said. Larry smiled. "It's nice, a little spooky though." Sarah lightly elbowed Larry in his side. "Behave." "Yes, well," the real estate agent continued, "you are obviously aware of the stories. Rest assured that they are just stories. I've been in contact with the previous 2 owners and they've never experienced anything out of the ordinary." "We don't mind," Sarah said. "We're not afraid of any ghosts, right, honey?" Larry was staring into one of the bedrooms. "What? Oh, no. Ghosts are afraid of me." The real estate agent cracked a grin, a gesture that appeared to pain the woman. Larry thought the lady looked like an anorexic troll. He told himself to be nice, but the woman was a sight that caused sore eyes. The veins in her skinny hands protruded from the skin so that Larry thought they would pop up at any moment. When he shook her hand earlier, he accidentally touched one. That sent a quiver down his core. She was nice and all, but her gooseneck begged for a throttling. This current house was the last in their hunt. The real estate agent didn't know this because Larry and Sarah kept their plan to themselves. This house, 257 Peak Avenue, was it. From books and the occasional television show, Larry knew it had to be. He had asked that they be shown the house last, the main event of a tedious day. "Can you give us a few minutes?" Larry asked the real estate agent. She was hesitant to do so, but this couple was nice and pleasant to work with. They wouldn't mess anything up or steal anything, not that there was anything to steal. Every item of value was long gone. "Okay," the real estate agent said. I'll be in the kitchen." Once the woman was out of sight, Larry pulled Sarah into the bedroom. "This is almost too easy," he told her. "I know," Sarah replied, keeping an eye out for the real estate agent. "No alarm system, a lot of privacy." Larry went to the window, which looked out on the small path along the side of the house. It was shady there, tucked away from errant eyes. He flipped open the lock on the window, making sure it was closed enough not to warrant suspicion. "And for this place to be haunted," Larry said, "not having a security system is nuts. Maybe the ghost scares intruders away." Larry could not contain his excitement. "Let's hope so." After Larry and Sarah left, the real estate agent went around securing the place. One of the bedroom windows was unlocked. She figured the lock was faulty. She pushed the latch in until it clicked and then left the house. 257 Peak Avenue had quite a history, but not one stretching back for centuries or even decades. In the late 90s, a family lived in the house, a husband, wife, and their little boy. By all first impressions, a typical family. That much was true. All was well in the family until a few months after they settled in. The wife began seeing things. Small objects like her little ballerina figurines disappearing, leaving nothing in their place. Larger objects like chairs melting and then regaining composition. Just like his wife, the husband began to witness odd occurrences. Their son, however, never joined in on the family visions. These visions increased so much that even when they slept, the husband and wife began to hear objects poofing out of sight and dressers oozing down and up again. Exhausted, the couple blamed their son, who hadn't witnessed any such melting or poofing. They believed it was their son who was messing with everything, with his mind or through magic. Then they came to their senses and realized that he had no power over the objects. He was hypnotizing them, making them see what he wanted, and making them go insane. They skinned the boy alive and burned his flesh. They buried the remains somewhere in the backyard or in the basement or in the walls. No one really knew. The two then disappeared themselves. Of course, fact and fiction are two different entities, often intermingled, rarely not. Larry slid the window up and hauled himself into the dark bedroom. He stood still for a few seconds, letting Sarah flail in her attempt to crawl inside. He wanted to tell her she wouldn't have had such a hard time if she wasn't so fat, but he opted not to, simply because she had hinted earlier that all this ghost hunting might make her horny. Larry hoped for the best. Once he helped her inside, he gently closed the window, making sure it was unlocked in case they needed a quick exit. But all was quiet, and Larry was confident that they would be in and out in a few minutes anyway. He didn't believe there were any kind of spirits here. But hey, it was a night out of their apartment. "It's quiet," Sarah whispered. She was right. It was quiet. It was that type of silence that made your ears ring, only this time it didn't. Larry felt like his head was in a vacuum. His breath leached away. Larry touched Sarah's clammy hand. "Want to get out of here?" he said. She shook her head, but the look on her face said otherwise. "I can't believe we broke in here," she said, trying to regain her cool. "If we get caught," Larry said, "I'm telling the cops it was your idea." He went to squeeze her hand again, but it wasn't there. He turned. Sarah was gone. Larry swung around. He stood alone in the hallway. Both ends of the hall were not encased in darkness like the spot where he stood. "Sarah?" he dared to say aloud. A hand touched his. He imagined it was the real estate agent's, all bones and veins, but it wasn't. He wished it was. "You'll love this place," the real estate agent told a young couple just behind her. 3-bed, 2-bath, a rustic charm as well. 257 Peak Avenue also has, a history, but one you can make your own. The fresh-faced husband looked at his pretty wife, who shrugged. The real estate agent pushed the door open and immediately smelled something wrong. In the living room was the couple she showed the house to yesterday. They sat upright on the couch, next to each other, the tops of their heads from their upper jaws up cupped in their hands, presenting them as gifts for the taking. The pretty wife fainted. Her husband tried to catch her. The real estate agent swallowed. "I'll never sell this house," she said.